we were thinking about talking about not only sleep deprivation, Dr. McKnight, but the dangers that lie within that. So is sleep deprivation, how do we define that other than just, I didn't get enough sleep last night, and is this a prevalent thing?
I think it's a chronic issue. When it becomes chronic, then we have a problem. And it's both quality and quantity that we're talking about. A lot of us are in bed long enough, but the quality is so poor that it really has the same effect as sleep deprivation. People that work swing shifts are really susceptible to this chronic sleep deprivation. Parents are definitely at risk for this.
Of young children, you mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, sometimes older children too, but
true.
The young children for sure will do that. And anybody who's undergoing a stressful period in their stressful period in their life will be susceptible to this. So it's both quality and quantity, and both of those have to be optimal to really do the things for our body that sleep is supposed to do.
So without proper sleep, we fall into some danger zones. What are some of those?
Well, so we have impaired reactive time. So if you're driving, your reaction time is going to be more slow. Slower cognitive function. Anybody who's done an all-nighter studying for an exam knows what that's like the next morning. You can hardly write your name, so definitely it affects our cognitive abilities. We also know that it impairs our immune system, so our ability to heal is diminished. And if you're undergoing a surgery or something like that, or any type of an illness, you need good sleep so the body can heal. In fact, it kind of goes along with what happens normally with sleep, because all of us go into deep sleep, delta sleep. That's when the brain really slows down. And when the brain slows down that much, the body heals. In children, when they're in deep sleep, their body is growing. So that 5-year-old that wakes up at night crying because their leg hurts the bone is actually stretching because they're growing, and they're in deep sleep when that happens. Of course, they wake up and they're not in deep sleep anymore. But for adults, we're not growing physically, but our body's repairing itself. So we need that deep sleep. People with sleep apnea who don't go into deep sleep, they have the same issue with sleep deprivation, and they don't recognize it because they're in bed for 7 hours and they wake up tired, and they're thinking, well, I'm getting old, or I have too much stress. But if you're sleeping light because you have sleep apnea, you're basically choking or gagging because of a lack of airflow every 2 or 3 minutes. That will definitely put you at risk for this. Something else I think is really interesting is we know that in sleep deprivation there's more weight gain and there's an increase in appetite. And I'm not sure what the link is there, but the two appetite hormones are leptin and ghrelin. And sleep deprivation will impair those signals, so you'll be more hungry and you'll gain more weight.
I wonder if they're just because you're more active, they're activated while you're not sleeping.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it's hard to say for sure. And going back to the issue with sleep deprivation with children, they have certain windows of time when they can really grow. Young children are growing constantly, but when a teenager hits that age where they hit their growth spurt, for girls it's between usually 12 and 14, and for boys it's 15, 16, 17. That is a time when those kids need to be getting good quality sleep, because if you don't take advantage of that window of opportunity with growth hormone and the other hormones that are helping these young kids grow, it will affect your peak height. So I'm always telling teenagers in the office, hey, you're in a growth spurt. And usually with a growth spurt, it's happening because the first thing you see in children is their hands and feet get big. And they have to get big, the feet especially, because they're getting ready for that vertical growth and they need to be able to balance themselves. So when the 12-year-old is now wearing dad's shoes, they're probably in the midst of a growth spurt. And that's when they not only need good quality sleep, and it needs to be sleep before midnight is the best, and they need to be getting eating a healthy diet so they have all the minerals and nutrients that they need to grow during that spurt. So that's really important for the teenagers. But the last one that I wanted to mention was chronic sleep deprivation leads to adrenal fatigue. We've talked about adrenal fatigue before because it's a lack of cortisol, when you're under stress, and sleep deprivation is a stressful time, you can't continue to make cortisol, so the body starts stealing other hormones to make cortisol. It will steal testosterone, it'll steal estrogen, it'll steal DHEA. And when it starts taking these other hormones, that also impairs growth, because testosterone is a really good growth hormone. And so sleep deprivation or just chronic stress can impair your body's ability to make these hormones. And one thing that we know with adrenal fatigue is when the cortisol level drops, there's more pain. So your knees are going to hurt more, your joints are going to hurt more. You can do this experiment if you've ever gone on a period of time where you've been deprived of sleep for 4 or 5 days. I guarantee you, your body's going to hurt more, your joints will hurt more. And the reason is because if you can't make cortisol, you hurt, because cortisol is very similar in structure to cortisone. In fact, cortisol converts to cortisone, and cortisone is a cousin geometrically and structurally to prednisone. So it's like your body makes its own natural supply of prednisone, a low dose type of prednisone or cortisone that helps control inflammation. So when you are well rested, you have less pain. When you're sleep deprived, you're going to feel those aches and pains more. So those are some of the things that happen with sleep deprivation. And again, it's not only the quantity of sleep, but it's the quality of sleep.
Right.
And we were talking before that as you get older, it seems like it gets harder to have that good quality sleep. I had an odd night last night because I took melatonin, but I kept waking up, and I'm not sure what that was about. I have a Fitbit that told me I had a pretty good night's sleep, but I was short on the time, and the quality of sleep was not as good as it normally is, because my Fitbit, if it's accurate, told me that my deep sleep and my REM sleep were much lower than my typical nights of sleep, and lower than the average. So something was off for me last night. I was tired when I went to bed. I'd worked out in the morning, worked out in the evening, and thought I would slept really well, but something wasn't quite right.
You took an extra dose of melatonin, which is a supplement that
Yes.
the body makes naturally, but as we get older, we don't make as much?
We don't make as much melatonin as we age, yes, for a number of reasons. We're not getting natural sunlight. We're going to bed with lights on, and we're in bed maybe with the bedroom lights out, but we're looking at an iPad or a cell phone, and so we don't release the melatonin as well. So I've started bumping my dose of melatonin. I'm on 5 milligrams now of slow release, and it's made a difference. Now, last night something happened. I don't know what it was, but it's really helped me. Sometimes with melatonin, you get this hungover effect where you're still tired and kind of drowsy in the morning. So you take the melatonin earlier, or you reduce the dose. But melatonin, your brain and your intestines both make melatonin, but this is not only is it your natural sleeping hormone that your body makes to help you feel tired when the sun goes down, but it's a powerful antioxidant, and it's really good for the immune system. A lot of studies show that it enhances your immune system. And of course, when you're sick, one of the things a lot of us do, we sleep, and that does help in the recovery. So, and I don't know if melatonin plays a role there, if you secrete it more when you're ill to help you sleep and help you recover. But melatonin is a great hormone. It's the best sleep aid there is. You can buy Tylenol PM, which is basically Tylenol with Benadryl. Benadryl is an antihistamine, and antihistamines are sedating. You can take Zyrtec for your allergies. That's sedating. But there's other side effects with those, dry mouth, and sometimes you feel kind of groggy still with those. And then there's the sleeping prescription pills, Ambien and Restoril, and those work pretty good, but after a time they don't work, and so people become very dependent on them. Yeah. And they're controlled substances, so for providers, we really don't like controlled substances, because as soon as I prescribe Ambien, the state pharmacy is going to watch how it's being prescribed, and I have to go through several different steps to even send that prescription in, and the patient has to get urine tested, and it's just it's a hassle, and it really isn't fixing the root cause of the sleep disorder. And most of the times I see when people have sleep disorders, they've got too much in their life going on. They got too much stress, too much anxiety. They can't shut their brain off. They're worried about all kinds of things. They haven't learned to manage all those stresses, and so they lay in bed awake at night. And really, to treat that is to help them understand how to manage those stresses better. But melatonin is really the starting point I think that most people should try if they're having problems.
But I like what you say. Managing the stress is going to be better than any drug or supplement.
It's always better. And, if you don't manage the stress, then you're going to burn your adrenal glands out, and you're going to have adrenal insufficiency, adrenal fatigue. And with that, again, comes weight gain, increased inflammation, slower healing, slower cognition. So it's always best to try to fix these things without prescription medications, because prescription medications, they have a role and they can help. For almost every prescription medication I can think of, I would only want to take it short term because they're foreign chemicals in the body. The liver doesn't like these. It tries to get rid of it. There's potential side effects, and then there's interaction with other medications. And when something isn't right, that means your body's stressed, and your body's trying to tell you something isn't right. You need to pay attention and fix this so that we're back in balance, we're back in harmony.
All right. Well, if we pay attention, maybe we can get a better night's sleep. I hope you sleep better, and then maybe I will too.
I hope we all sleep better, yes.
All right. Dr. Tim McKnight, thank you so much, as always, for advice and tips this morning on our Talk with the Doc.